Okay, how you going, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Baking Geek. Today we're going to be making choux paste. Okay, traditional French favourite. Everyone loves it. You know, you can use choux paste in like a croquembouche. You can make eclairs with it. You can do profiteroles. Today we're going to do some profiteroles, but we're also going to be making some things we used to call Scandinavias. Other people call them cream puffs. And we're going to combine them. I'm going to show you how to decorate them later, but it's going to be fun. Okay, first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a nice large pot to make your roux in. Okay, when we put the liquid in and the butter and all that sort of thing, it might not necessarily take up a whole heap of space in the pot, but you're going to need it when you're going to. What we're going to do is we're going to cook our roux out, and that's a very important part of the process. Okay, so let's get started. First we're going to dump our liquid in. So I'm going to put the recipe up on the screen, so there's not much need for me to talk about that. But anyway, so here we go. We've got a ton of butter. Okay, so I've got the milk, the water and the butter. And I've got my oven preheating, okay? So let's get started. Right, there we go. Nice high heat. Here we go, and it's already going. What you want to do is, I'm using a bamboo sort of spatula thing. Metal's probably not the best. I do prefer wood doing this sort of thing, or bamboo, whichever one you prefer. Okay, and we've also got flour, sugar, salt here. You don't need to use a strong baker's flour. That's not necessary. Just going to break our butter up there, so it can melt quicker. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring that all to the boil. Then we're going to put our flour mixture in, and then we're going to cool it down a little bit in our mixer here. Once it's cooled, we're going to start adding eggs, and that's when we can start piping. Okay, so you want to get yourself a nice piping bag made of cloth. I prefer the cloth ones. Look, you can probably do this with a plastic one if you really want, but no, I don't ever see anyone using these days. And to be quite honest, these were a standard in the industry for many years. As long as they're cleaned properly, they're good to go, and they're a lot tougher. You can pipe biscuits with them, you can pipe tough choux paste. Now, when we bake out our choux paste, today probably not going to bake it out as much, because we're just going to do some little profiteroles and decorate them much later. If you were doing a croquembouche, what you'd do is actually bake the hell out of the choux paste. That way they've got a lot more structure to them when you actually perform your croquembouche. You need structure. The worst thing you can have in a croquembouche is soft choux pastry, and that's when you're going to get a lean on your croquembouche. Okay, but that's another lesson for later. Today we're just going to. Today we're just making some nice choux balls. Okay, we're going to fill them with I've got a custard recipe I'm going to dump at the same time on YouTube as this recipe. Sorry, that was the oven beeping. Okay, right, it threw me off. Okay, so I'm gonna dump a custard recipe. I call it custard, but it's a traditional French type of custard. You could call it creme patisserie. You can do whatever you want. You know, in a traditional creme patisserie, you'd separate your egg yolks, but in this one, we're not even going to bother. It's a particularly thick type of custard. And the reason for that is you can use it for Danish and bake it off. You can use it in like fruit tarts. You can use it in croquembouches. Now it's important to have a very strong custard when you do a croquembouche, because when it hits that hot sugar, stuff's going to melt. And this particularly thick type custard will not melt with it, or it may melt a little bit, but it will reset. And it also holds alcohol. It can hold like ganache. It can hold like fruit, which we're going to do later. It's going to hold some strawberry compote, and yeah, we're going to do a plain strawberry and a chocolate profiteroles. Anyway, that's enough of me talking. So what's happened is this is starting to boil. We're just going to turn that down. We're going to add our flour. Okay, so stirring. Looking good already. I'll tell you what, I haven't done this in a little while, folks, but everything comes flooding back. Like I said, it's very important to cook your roux out. You want to make sure all those starch cells are broken open. There's no flour lumps in here whatsoever. And I think we are almost done. Oops, get a little bit of fly out of the bowl there. You know, I'll tell you what, I'm glad I used the largest pot we've got. You know, like, if I was to use a small one, I'll tell you what, there'd be trouble. There'd be stuff overflowing everywhere. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. I think that's cooked out. We can turn that off now. Right, so that's going to go straight into the mixer, folks. Here we go, like that. One thing I'm going to tell you now is, whatever you do, make sure that gets soaked straight away, otherwise you're going to have the cleaning of a lifetime. One trick we always used to play on our apprentices in the place is you'd leave it out, leave it on the side, wait for the apprentice to go wash it up, and he'd be there for 2 hours trying to scrub the stuff off the bottom. So as soon as you get it off the stove, make sure you soak it, alright? Yeah, we're filling it up with water now. So anyway, what you can do is get that mixer cranking. You don't need to crank it fast. It's just going to evaporate some of the heat out of that mix. We don't want to scramble our eggs, so we're just going to let the mixer do a little bit of work, just on a low speed, that sort of thing. Okay, that's enough water for that. Right. Okay, so I've pre-weighed my eggs. Okay. Now it's important that you don't dump the eggs into a hot mix, but you know what? You can actually put them in when they're still quite warm, as long as your eggs are cold, and it will chill the mix out. Here we go. We're getting there. I'll tell you what, you can feel the heat on the side of the bowl there. It is quite hot. I know I've cooked the starch out well in these, and my oven's up to 10. And these are probably going to bake for about 20 to 25 minutes. I want to just drop a little bit more heat out of that bowl before we start adding eggs. Okay, so we're just going to let it go. And we're using the beater attachment. You're not going to use a whisk, you're not going to use a dough hook. It's the one in between, okay? We're making a choux paste. Oh, I'll tell you what, the other thing we're going to need is a good scraper. I like to use these style of ones when we're got the bowl. That way you don't get your hands as dirty. Okay. Anyway. I'll tell you what, that's getting there, and what I'm going to do is just start adding one egg nice and slow. And what you're going to do is just let that mix accept the eggs before adding any more. And at the same time, that's going to cool your mix right down. That's looking really good, folks, I'll tell you what. Let the mix take up the egg. Okay, ready for the next one. Sometimes when you do this mix as well, it might take an extra egg or two just to get it to a nice consistency where you want to pipe it. what you don't want is, you don't want your choux paste to be tough when you're piping it. You want it to be at a really nice consistency. So it really is all about the feel of the mix, actually, more so than the amount of egg. The amount of egg that I've given here in the recipe, there's no need for me to talk about it because I've flashed it up on the screen. It may take extra, it may take less. I doubt it will take less. It generally always takes sometimes more. And you can feel the heat dropping right out of that bowl now. Continue to add the eggs at a slow speed. I just tried to speed it up, it wasn't going to work. Yeah. There we go. Just taking it up beautifully. I'm going to get my scraper ready. I've got my trays ready. I've got one already lined. I don't know if you'd be able to do this in anything but like a planetary style mixer, KitchenAid, or I'm using a Kenwood here. I don't know if you, yeah, I don't think you could do this on a food processor. You do need a good mixing action and a fairly decently strong sort of mixer. The mix is, I can see it's really starting to get there now. I'm just adding one egg at a time. I think it was 400 mils of egg, so that's roughly about 8 eggs I've added. Yeah. Just adding one at a time, letting the mix accept that, and then we move on to the next one. If you're doing large batches of this in a patisserie, you just use pulp egg and you just be jamming it in as quick as you probably could, but you can only jam it in literally as quick as the mix will actually accept it. It is a bit of a process, folks, so be patient. Yeah, let your mixer do the work. We're not developing gluten here, we're not doing anything like that. There's no need to really use a strong flour, a cake flour will do it. I can already tell this mixer's starting to get there. Yeah, it's starting to stick to the sides now. Here goes the last egg. It's starting to look really good, folks. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a quick scrape down. Okay. Put all that stuff from the bottom up. What a nice even mixture. Okay, try not to get it all over yourself. Okay, there we go. Choux paste, choux paste, choux paste. Right, I think we're almost ready, folks. Give it one last mix. And that's it. Okay, I think, yeah, that's a nice consistency. I think I can pipe this, yeah. Okay. So we're going to get rid of that for a second, actually. No. Just scrape your beater down, folks. Make sure you get all of it. Okay, I'm going to use the hands at this point. And the mix is nice and cool, which is what we want. Okay, right, beater out of the way. Okay, so we've got our bag. We're going to start loading our bag up. Right. Important to get your bag about halfway when you load it, sort of thing. This is a nice firm mix. Okay. Whatever you do, don't ever overload your bag. Okay, so we're going to go like that. Crease it in half. That's how you want to hold the piping bag, folks, okay? So we're going to start piping little balls about that big. And you want to give them enough even space apart. Truthfully, this mix could probably have gone one extra egg, but I'm not overly concerned about that right now. And you want them about the size of it, say a 20-cent piece if you're living in another country, maybe a 50-cent piece. Okay. They've actually got a bit of a peak on them. I really should have added an extra egg. There we go. Alright, so hopefully you've done it alright, and that's what a tray of profiteroles should look like. Okay, now I'm going to bake them off, and I might even, what I'll do is I'll pipe some larger ones, and we'll call these ones Scandinavias. Now these ones we used to make one of the patisseries I was at. They're like a large shoe ball, basically. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a shortbread top to that, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, so we're back. So I've just rolled out a little bit of short paste, and what you want to do is just make a few discs like this, and we're just going to stick them to the top of our choux pastry, like so. Now that's going to give us a really nice look at the end of the bake. And when I do the video, you guys will see. Nice and short. Okay, almost time for the oven. Okay, so stick them on there as such. Okay, so those ones look like that. So they're going to be, yeah, what the shortbread's going to do, or the sweet pastry, whatever. It's going, as the choux rises, it's going to take the pastry with it and crack all over the top. And we're going to finish it off with a nice icing sugar and some custard in between and all that sort of stuff. So, but we'll go through that later. That's your choux paste, folks. All right, going into the oven now. Okay, I'll be back when that stuff comes out. Bye. Hi guys, we're back, and I've actually been learning a little bit about my oven Okay, so the oven's not quite as hot as I thought it would be, but that's okay. It's a learning experience. So what I did with the first lot of choux paste I put in, I think they went in around about what I figure to be 170 fan force, which equates to about 190 normal bake time, and I didn't alter them at all. So I think they turned out about that size, right? Okay, there you go, for an idea for size. Okay, so the next batch I turned the oven right up, and there's another thing that I did. There's an old pastry chef's trick that we used to use, and we got a heap of water and you just splash water all over the tray, all over the choux paste, and when that hits the oven it turns into steam and actually rises the heat of the oven right up, and that gives your choux paste a lot of lift. Now, to give you an idea, these two profiteroles were piped exactly the same size, and that is the size difference that you're going to look at. So when you bake, the large ones, they possibly bake for about, I'd say 30 minutes in an oven. It was 220 fan force, so it's a regular oven. It's maybe about 240, and possibly about 25 to 30 minutes. You want to bake them out really well. You don't want soft sides on your profiteroles. Yeah, so that's the trick. So spray the tray with heaps of water, 220 degrees, hit them into the oven, and that lift off the steam will just give those profiteroles so much more puff. Give you an idea, I'm just going to show you two trays. This tray here, these big ones, you can see they were piped exact same size as those ones, right? So there's a lesson to everyone, I guess. So I'm learning stuff about my oven. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Come back in a couple of days. I'm going to be putting stuff into these things, and you're really going to want to see that episode. All right, guys. Hit the like button. Do what you want. Subscribe, whatever. Okay. Welcome back to another episode of Bake and Geek. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.